everyone. My name is Adriana Fournier, and I'm an all-star with American Crew. And I'm going to be demonstrating a haircut for you guys, which I think is really, really relevant with today's market. After the pandemic, we, started to see a lot more long hair. And I think that this haircut that I'm going to be demonstrating will really cover a lot of bases of kind of that shaggy, longer styles, unisex, so all shapes and sizes, and also, you know, to be able to work within your markets for your customers, um, to be able to do something very quickly as well. I know what it's like to be the person on the other side of the screen and feel as if the person presenting has no idea who my customers are. And I really hope that today I can bring that and actually be able to present to you with something that will be relevant and will work for your markets and for your customers. So, talk a little bit about product. We'll talk a little bit about easy styling, nothing too crazy. I know those are add-ons and those are not the big main push as well. So we've got our model here, got about an hour. So like I said, thank you guys so much for taking the time, whether you're streaming live with us right now or tuning in later on your YouTube channel. I am very thankful for you guys. You can find me on social media at Sheer Wisdom Hair. My personal page is Sheer Wisdom PDX. I always answer everybody's questions. So if there was something I didn't address, please feel free to reach out to me. We also have a chat. So if there's some questions, hopefully I will be able to answer them. We've got my sidekick Bradford in the chat room who will be answering any questions if there was something that you needed to be clarified, but I will also look through those as well. So we've got our collection that came out last year called Acid, and it's a really fun collection. Hopefully you guys with the glare can see, some really round shapes and some lean shapes. And here's kind of a little bit. This is going to be the style that we're going to cut today. So definitely more lean, definitely, I believe, unisex. How do we create a shape and a haircut that is more on that lean side? I have a lot of stylists who come in and tell me, I don't know how to cut long hair, especially long men's hair. And sometimes even women's hair, right? If, the shag is really popular, there's a lot of different looks that people are requesting and customers are asking for. And so how do you make it not look too feminine or too masculine? And this is kind of a great in between. Here's just a couple of the other cuts too that you can see on our social media as well. So that's that very round shape, right? If you are trying to create that round shape, but still kind of, like I said, very, very interchangeable. So HYUKK, that's our model's real name in real life too. So that's pretty cool. We start all of our haircuts at American Crew with a horseshoe shape parting. And that is just to separate the bottom half from the top half. And you will then be able to maintain as much length as you need on top without disturbing what you've cut on the bottom, right? When pompadours and longer, styles, I've got a lot of customers asking for, that really, really tight fade around the ears, and then they want their hair really big and long, right? That's a lot of change. So separating that bottom half from the top half is really important, at least for me when cutting behind the chair, and just sets my roadmap from where I'm going to go next. The wonderful thing about this haircut is there really isn't a transition. So we get to kind of skip the transition, which I think will really be helpful behind the chair when you guys are doing maybe this haircut on a customer, and this can be in different lengths. So I'm going to do it on the longer length. Doesn't mean that you can't necessarily do it on the shorter length. I want you to learn the techniques and the style as well. So we use a really long comb. Whatever comb you guys use is going to be great. I just like a longer comb because I kind of in my mind know how long it is. So I've got about an 8-inch comb. So halfway is about 4. So I'm going to start my haircut, and I'm going to start this about 3 inches. So if that's helpful, if you're somebody who's kind of a numbers person versus there's going to be hairstylists and barbers out there that kind of tend to kind of go with whatever, right? Or sometimes you might be starting your haircut. I like to check in with them and go, hey, how's that length before starting and finishing the whole project? So we've got kind of damp hair. If you guys haven't used the Prep and Prime product, it's one of my favorite cutting agents, and it kind of gives a light hold. If you guys have ever used, if you've ever used the American Crew Light Hold Texture Lotion, I like to say that this is kind of that in a bottle, but it has a little bit of tackiness. It's got a little bit of control. It's not going to wear down on your tools, your combs, your clippers, anything like that, but leaves the hair with some kind of dampness if you start to get dry. It's also if you're not shampooing, right? And you've got to wet that hair down to get as much. I'm going to be using my razor today. And when I use my razor, I do like the hair to be wet. So get the hair as wet as possible before starting this haircut is how I would encourage you all to do this. I am right-handed, so we start on the right-hand side and right in front. And this is a really great tool as well to kind of watch, get to maybe behind the ear and check in with my client with that length. And that's with all haircuts. So that if I did maybe start in the back and then I moved myself to one side and then the other, I wouldn't have to go through that whole basically half section. I can kind of just start in this little square area and go, hey, how's that length? And then finish. All about efficiency, right? And how fast I can get through this haircut, because people don't like to sit necessarily for a super long time. This haircut, I'm going to be taking up my whole time. So I really do want you guys to, know that this will take me longer than it will take you behind the chair, but that your customers will not feel as if this is going to take a very long time. So starting on that right-hand side, take my first section. We're going to be directing our razor down. So when you do use your razor, think about the direction that you want the hair to go. In this case, I want the hair to go down. So I'm going to be making sure that my razor blade is targeting down. If I say wanted my hair cut to go up, right? There's customers that have, that flip, then you might target that razor up to get that flip, right? Short pushes long. So that's always kind of the same thing. I'm going to do down because I want to target that hair down. If say that hair is in that customer's face and you want to move that hair away from their face, you can target it away from their face. So just always thinking about ways that your tool can be used for the style that you're trying to create. So for our technical people that really like numbers, right? That first section, I'm going to say is about 3 inches. So I'm going to go right about there, right? If that's about halfway of my comb, and then bring it in an inch, give or so. And then I'm going to create almost a downward swoop. So I'm going to get longer with so it's going to look more like this. So yeah, if you want, you can always, if you're new or you're like, ooh, I don't know, right? Use your tools. Those are your gauges, right? And there's my first section. There's my guide. And I'm going to target down until I basically run out of hair. And I'm going to work in pretty basic size sections and moving out. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this a lot slower than you would, but just so that you guys can see it, understand it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And hopefully Bradford can answer that. All right, find my guide. So when I say basic sections, I'm thinking like, you know, give or take, right? A wide section would be that, and a really small section would be more like that. So, you know, give or take, where when you take the section, the hair creates a V. Find my guide until I run out of hair. So it will be, you know, especially with my mannequin, it will be shorter in the front, right? Because one, our mannequins don't have as much hair there. And two, you know, the, you know, you are wanting more of this is, I would say, more of that shaggy style haircut. Find my
Hi,
guide.
Adriana. How do you prevent from having a hole around the ear?
So really, you know, if you need to, you can always kind of leave that hair down, that one section, but being really mindful that you might need to exaggerate quite a bit more so that you can leave length down here. But the process of this haircut is it is going to be shorter to longer. So, you know, another option, you know, I'm not going to teach it this way, but you can always kind of be like, okay, what's the shortest that I want this hair to go right around the ear? And just make sure that you have a guide right there. So then when you pull out your hair, you can see, I don't want to go any further than that. So that might be an option for you guys as well. So working around, hopefully you guys can see. So, right, I still got that length down here. You can already see movement throughout the hair. Here's that section. When we get behind the ear, you're really going to have a way bigger section. I have pretty small length fingers, it feels like always. So I always have to sometimes take 2 or 3 sections. So be mindful that when you are watching me, it might look different when you do it at home or, you know, back with your customers. Bring that guide and follow through. With this haircut as well, I would definitely, you know, this is a great haircut for somebody who's growing their hair out, you know, or wants just a slight change, but not a whole lot of length off, right? I don't necessarily want to take length from the top of, you know, or from the bottom of their hair. So I definitely want to be mindful that I keep as much hair. So you can see. Taking another section. Also, if you were dealing with really, really thick or coarse hair, I would take smaller sections. And also, sometimes with really fine hair, you will tend to see more movement and more need for, you might lose your guide. So, always being really, really mindful of the section and making sure you can see your lines. Also, using a fresh razor blade is super important because I don't know how many times customers have said to me, oh, I don't like the razor. And they maybe don't like the razor because somebody used a dull razor blade on them. So when you know you're going to be doing a full haircut the whole time, then, be sure that you're using a new one. I think with a full razor haircut, a new one is important. I like to go behind my knuckle and notice that I'm kind of almost feathering the hair instead of going like this. So if I do this, that's fine, but you're going to create a much more blunt haircut. And I really want the ends to be fairly soft. And holding that hair at a 90 out from the head. And I know as hairstylists, we tend to need to, make sure we cut every hair, but sometimes we're going to run out of hair. So if we run out of hair, that's okay. But I like to still go through the motion, right? It makes me know that, okay, I cut every single hair on this head, even if I maybe really didn't. So it's kind of that softer, find my guide. And I like to hold my razor as if I'm holding a pen too. Lefties, of course, you're going to be learning this the other way. So starting on the left-hand side and working your way to the right-hand side. So you can already kind of see that movement in that hair. But yeah, I mean, I think in all actuality, you guys really could cut this lower half in 5 minutes. If you really, if you're not familiar with that razor, practice on the top. I would say that using your razor on the lower half of the head can sometimes be intimidating, and we tend to get lazy, especially if you are having to move the hair in a certain direction, right? We all tend to get a little bit lazy when we get into that nape area. And I really want you to be really mindful of staying pretty center on. You'll see me kind of moving in different areas so that you guys can see, but really being in front of your section as much as possible so that you can see your guide, but also you're not veering one way or the other. That's how we tend to, right? I'm right-handed and I move to the left. I tend to get longer sometimes by the time I get to my left-hand side. And that's just because I've moved my body just a little bit. So I really try to be mindful of when you tend to, if you're left-handed and you get longer on one side, just step yourself one way or the other, and you might get really back to center so that when you go to cross check your haircut, you're not going to see this wave, right? When I go to cross check, I'm not going to see this huge line of waves. Unless, of course, I'm trying to create those. So yeah, being, like I said, that I'm right-handed and I get Can't see my guide. So if you can't see your guide, go back to the previous section, make sure that you're not taking too large of a section. And I did think I took too big of a section, so I can't find my guide. But this is a perfect example, right? I need to make sure that I can see my guide instead of just winging it. It's going to create a better, longer lasting, balanced haircut. And move down. Clean sectioning. I know when we are in a hurry, sometimes clean sectioning can take a back seat. But the more that you practice, the faster you'll be, the better your sectioning will be, and you'll be able to find your lines. So see my guide. You can always kind of let that hair fall out. Other cutting agents that I like to use, besides just the Prep and Prime, Tonic is that light hold texture lotion. So if you have customers who are prone to, irritation, or sometimes people just, even shampoos and things like that, you'll notice that our packaging over the last couple of years has slightly changed to say things like vegan and recycled and naturally derived ingredients. So we're really trying to be mindful of the ingredients that we're putting in our hair and noticing how many allergies people do have. So, even if you're putting a cutting agent besides just water in their hair, then, you always want to be mindful that it's not going to be something that's going to be irritating for their skin, which is what I love about the Prep and Prime tonic from a cutting agent. It's also great for those customers who really don't like a lot of product, right? And that's fine. I am not going to pressure you to buy a product unless you absolutely would like something. But I also think it's a great opportunity for us to just kind of tell our customers what we're using and why we're using it. And it doesn't have to be a sell thing. But hey, I'm putting this in your hair because I noticed it's really dry. This would be a great product for you to give a little bit of moisture, give a little bit of hold, but without weighing your hair down, without feeling sticky, without feeling XYZ. So, it's just like going to your doctor and asking them, hey, I have headaches. What would you recommend? Okay, am I supposed to take Tylenol or am I supposed to take Advil? Those are just, what is the difference? So little things like that. We are the experts. So getting back to that left-hand side, and hopefully you guys are, retaining this information, understanding. You can definitely see, right? When I get to here, right, that hair down in that nape area is going to be significantly longer. We're basically going from like 3 to 5 inches, or even maybe 6 inches in some cases. Now, another thing to think about as you guys are watching this haircut is, say somebody came in and they wanted you to trim this. If they wanted you to trim this, you might be, let's say, we'll take this section that I already cut, and they want you to just take a little baby trim off of. It's going to be a little bit harder for you to make sure that you can get your razor in front of your hair, in front of your finger, is what I'm trying to say. So If that is the case, you are really going to have to be mindful of just working on a little bit smaller, more precise sections as well. Versus when it's a little bit longer and you have a lot more length that you can take off, you're going to see a lot more fluid. So also things to think about, when watching somebody demonstrate a haircut as well. And I hope you guys do feel comfortable using your razor, right? You could technically do this with a shear, but it would create way more work for you. And sliding that hair, right? You'd really have to you would get a very blunt and different style haircut, which, might necessarily be the case and better for somebody with, say, really fine hair and needs more of that blunt cut versus somebody with really thick, coarse hair. They might need the razor. Or curly hair, right? Sometimes, and that's where you could maybe do a point cut or something like that, and more of that sawtooth. So I've got that whole bottom half. Like I said, obviously I've been talking a lot. So we create fullness, but we're still lean because we've got a lot of length down here, but we took a lot of bulk throughout here. So working in that top area, you will not see me to a transition that's just going to be interconnected. So I'm going to take one section centered. From the back. I'll show you guys here in a second. Okay. So that's our section. It's going to go all the way to the back. Okay, and all the way forward. So I'm going to come this way so that you guys can really see what I'm doing. And we're going to work in radials. So we want this back section to be about 5 inches. So I'm going to say right about there. Okay. And then we're going to target the hair forward and creating length. So it's going to be like this. So really being mindful of your tool. And like I said, my fingers always don't quite make it. I'm always jealous of the people who have really, really long fingers and can do this in 2 seconds. And there's my guide for my very first section. So I'm going to work this way, this way, this way, kind of like a pizza pie. Okay. And taking that next section And you can go to the left or the right, whatever you prefer. Finding my guide. And walking that hair and that razor forward. And working to the next section, taking a small piece of the previously cut hair and walking it forward. So that you maintain that length up top. Getting to my last section, which is basically right above the horseshoe. And that's just going to sit on top of that a little bit shorter length, which you can kind of see. And then don't worry, we're going to cut the front of our model's hair. So I'm going to just tilt this a little bit so that you guys can kind of see more what I'm doing. So taking that center part, taking new part of the section, and now I'm on the other side. So if this is difficult for you, just put yourself in the right position because we'll be going from behind. So I'm doing this for you guys to be able to see, but you can always stand on the other side. And I can already tell, my razor blade is getting a little dull. I'm getting towards the end, so I'm not too worried. But once again, something to be mindful of. And targeting that hair forward. All the way until you get to the front. I'll show you guys the actual visual head sheets because sometimes, you kind of need to see it on a head sheet besides just visually. So when we get to the end, before I go, I will show that to you guys. So you can always maybe take a screenshot or something. Or like I said, don't forget to ask. One last section, right to that horseshoe. And also different points in your razor, right? I tend to use the middle of my razor. So, trying to find that sweet spot maybe in the back of your razor or the front of the razor to make sure and maintain that sharpness. Okay, tilt him back straight. So, like I said, I have shampooed and conditioned, but I know you guys might not have time to do that for your customers. But that prep and prime product will actually break down product. So if there is product already in your customer's hair, it will start to break it down, especially if it's something sticky. So pulling that hair forward and kind of start that face framing with your razor. So kind of pulling it forward. See if there's any wave in their hair naturally, right? Because as it dries, especially if you got it really soaking wet before you started cutting, you want to see that bend and where that might be. And that might play a role in where you're going to start that frame, right? So this, we have the customers. So here's that head sheet, right? So we kind of just brought that out in those basic sections. Here's that radial head piece. Okay. So with our face, we're going to do some bangs, but fringe, bangs, face framing, you know, always being mindful of whatever words we're using, and how people feel comfortable with which words too, right? So pulling that hair forward, I'm gonna look and see where it's separating, where the nose is, and take that first section. And I'm just gonna crisscross with my razor. So short push is long, always. So I really wanna be mindful of pushing that hair away because it's going to, and you can always go like this where you go one way and then go the other way. So that it's equally distributed. You can do this with your shears if that feels more comfortable. But the point is to kind of have a pretty strong front hairline with this haircut. But if you wanted to soften it up, or maybe you were doing this on somebody who wanted it a little bit more feminine, you could definitely kind of start and make that V versus making it more square, right? And that can make a big difference in just having it be a little bit more masculine and a little bit more feminine. And, I love my hair to be more on that masculine side because I think I have an egg shaped head. So, always asking that person, like, hey, right? You guys greet, and have your great experience. So when you talk with your customer, your customer, and making sure, right? Hi, I'm Adriana. I'm going to be cutting your hair today. I saw your notes. This is what you've been doing. You could even put a note in there like likes the hair more masculine, likes the hair more feminine, likes it more round, likes it more square. Those can all be really good, helpful notes for the next person who's cutting their hair. And do you want it above the eyebrow or right at the eyebrow? So kind of just little things that can make a big difference in your haircut. And I personally, I like to wear if I am wearing more of a fringe or bang or something like that, I like it to be fuller. I like it to be stronger, but I also don't want it to be too short, right? Because sometimes I have cowlicks, most of us do in the front. How is that cowlick going to lay? So I like to leave it on that longer side than not. and don't hold the hair so tight that you can't see the movement of the hair. Okay. So yes, that took me a super long time. Okay, you guys can via video, but I hope that you guys visually saw how fast, right? Once you have your guide, once you have your first starting piece, you'll be able to work through this bottom half of the haircut super quick. Get your next section, your top section. We're skipping transition. Here's my guide, and then the radials. Okay. And done, besides the front fringe area. And hairline. So super, super easy, quick. Kind of think it's a little 80s, 70s. I don't know if anybody watches fashion, but, I think it was, Fashion Week for men recently, and Americana style was on the runway a lot, which I think, you got Yellowstone and other shows like that. People, kind of cowboy wearing their hair long. So this is a great haircut for all types. I would recommend using fiber cream. So fiber cream is one of my, it's so bright. So sorry, guys. Fiber cream, one of my favorite products. So if you think about the fiber family, if you've seen all three, or maybe, your stores don't carry, whatever, salons, shops, all the things. But that's okay. So we've got the cream, the fiber paste, basically in a puck, call it, and then our fiber foam. So we brought these out because obviously fiber was really, really popular. Everybody loves it. It's dry, it's matte finish, it's, got a lot of, hold to it, stronger hold, but it's not like so heavy in the hair. So, but I would say that I would use the fiber for shorter hairstyles. So 3 inches or shorter. Doesn't mean that you couldn't use it in this haircut for piecing pieces out. But then we decided to come out with fiber cream. And fiber cream, I would say, is for that medium to longer hairstyles with somebody who needs a little bit of texture and hold. It's not going to have a matte finish. It's going to have a natural shine. So it's going to actually have a closer sheen to, say, forming cream. So forming cream, medium hold, medium shine, but it comes in a puck. And some people are really not into putting their fingers in things. So a tube, a spray, a foam, those are great products to talk to your customers about and what would be best for them. And then our fiber foam, that we thought of for longer hairstyles. So I would say like my hairstyle, or if you want to blow dry. Now, does that mean you can't use them for short? Absolutely not. You can use them for however you like. It's just sometimes I like to know the rules, and then I like to know when I can break them, right? So how does the product, how is it supposed to be retailed? How am I supposed to talk about it with my clients and customers? And then how is this going to benefit them, right? Because I don't want to sell my customers something that isn't going to benefit them or that they're not going to use. Although if you'd want to sell anything to me, I'm the easiest sell because I can't say no. So you can just say, hey, do you want this? And I'll say, okay, great. So that's why it never hurts to ask people, because if you had me in your chair, then you would get that. So I'm going to use we'll say quarter size, right? I'm going to re-wet the hair just a little bit to make sure that it evenly distributes, right? Have you ever noticed that when you put a puck in somebody's hair or any product in somebody's hair, and you notice right around the face or dry areas that the product just sticks and stays and creates more shine or less shine or whatever the case may be. So, always being, hey, that can be a consistency with the how much water is in their hair, how much their hair is absorbing, right? Are they using a conditioner? If your clients and customers are not using conditioner, I'm so sorry about the client thing, customers. If your customers are not using shampoo and conditioner, let's say they're more of a shampoo person, but hey, maybe 3-in-1, right? 3-in-1 is a great product for customers that need all-in-one. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be encouraging people to sell or buy 3-in-1, you would better believe that I would not be saying that. I've been with American Crew for a little over 11 years, and I've been a hairstylist for 23 years almost. And, 3-in-1, I was like, no, but it does the job. It removes the oils, product off of the scalp, conditions the hair, and puts moisture back in, and they can use it for their body as well. All things that I would definitely now encourage my customers to use. So we've got a little bit of product. It's pretty much ready to go. Now, if the customer wanted a style and you had time and it was something that you wanted to see, or maybe this is something that you would want to try on yourself, this is when I would say pulling out a blow dryer, adding that style, right? There are those times when customers say to me, and I'm sure you too, I wish you would just come to my house every morning and style my hair. And that's an opportunity for you to just talk a little bit longer about what you're doing for the style if you have time, what product you used, why you used it. So I do use a diffuser. You'd be surprised how many of my customers now use diffusers, especially my curly hair people, and especially my male specific clients as well. So always low setting when you've got curl in the hair, and you're just going to kind of crunch it. But it would take, this is not a style that's requiring you to be spending 15 minutes styling their hair. And when you have a long, busy day in front of you with customers in line, obviously you don't have time for this. But just like I always say, treat the first customer or treat the last customer as nice as you treated the first customer. Maybe that person needed that little extra pamper and made their day. And just because it's the end of our day and we're super tired and we're ready to go home doesn't mean that you couldn't take 2 seconds to throw some product in, let it air dry, or do a 2-second, blow dry just to get it the way that they want it before they go out to dinner or something like that. So there is our style. And it really, with that fiber cream, really, really showed a lot of the curl in this, what I would say, pretty straighter mannequin head as well. Going back real quick to the 3-in-1s, we do have some new 3-in-1s. So if you see them floating through the shelves, we've got a 3-in-1 ginger and tea. So that's going to create more hydrating. It's got a really nice, fresh smell. And we can put some more info in there and give you guys some features and benefits. I'm sure that they send all that information out to you guys, and that's easier to retain. But, like I said, we've got those little things. So, recycled product, I think that's the one it is, right? Cleanliness, hydrating, aromatherapy, so it smells good. So it may seem like there's a lot going on the packaging, but it's really there to be really clear for your customers to be able to pick up a product and even for you to pick up a product and understand exactly what it's going to do. So sometimes it can be really confusing when it's, you know, daily moisturizing conditioner. That's what it says, right? It's daily, it moisturizes, and it's conditioner. We try to make it as simple, but sometimes there's some extra words in there, right? Daily cleansing shampoo, same thing. You can use it daily. It's going to cleanse the scalp. It's great for, oily hair, dry hair. We've got a moisturizing one. So all of those things to kind of just think about and have in your back pocket to really know what's on your shelves. I think it's really important. Sometimes I like to, do a little call out on the day and like look at the product before I start my day just to see what we might be out of. And we try to put a little poster in the back of my shop that says, this is out so that I don't, that might be my favorite product. And sometimes, as we have all had issues with products not being in or you can't get them. And then all of a sudden there's a bazillion of them and you've been selling something else. And you're like, oh, I could have sold that. Or now that's all gone and I need this product. So always having two different options for your customers, I think is really important, right? If I had the fiber cream and let's say I sold out of this, my second go-to, if this was going to be the product I was going to sell them, but I was out of it, I would probably throw them with some forming cream because it's still going to be in that natural shine and it's still going to be in that medium hold. A little less tacky, in my opinion, than the fiber cream is, but I'm still going to get the overall same look for my customer. Another thing, the light hold texture lotion. Light hold, moisturizing. If you do blow dry it with it in the hair, it will plump up the hair shaft. I might use Whip, which is another great product. Natural to low shine, light hold. So, but nice and creamy and easy consistency as well. So, and it smells really like minty too. So, I was gonna see if there's any chat. Sorry, my finger's in there. If there's anything else that you guys have questions about, I would love to answer them. I know we're getting towards the end and I really want to be mindful of your time as well, but now would be the time to ask questions, any concerns, anything that I can address. I can also look and see if, Bradford has anything for me or if anybody else does. But yeah, I hope you guys really learned something exciting today and something that you can take back behind the chair and feel as if I was relevant and it was something that you guys can use, as well as a little bit of product. We've got so many different pucks, for all different hair types. I continuously, am always looking at lots of different product lines and making sure that I know what's out there, because just as if you might have somebody who moved from a different state and moved to your location, some things aren't always the same or carried the same. And, what have they used? Okay, this would be something that I would recommend. Talking to your clients and customers about the style that they want to see, talking about masculine, feminine, right? I think we're definitely getting more mainstream as hairstylists that, I would encourage you to just talk about, right? It's like, it's just a haircut. Okay. It's a clipper cut. It's this, and all of those things. So thank you so much. I really am so thankful to be here this morning. and well, this afternoon for some of you, and getting into the later afternoon as well. But thank you again. If you need to reach out to me, like I said, I'm on Sheer Wisdom Hair for any hair needs. But if you also want to reach me personally, I'm Sheer Wisdom PDX. Those are great ways to connect with me always. I'm not always great about posting, but I am going to try and be better. After being in the industry for as long as I have been, keeping up with the times is always the harder part. And that's what I love about working with American Crew. And hopefully, something that you took from today is, still staying on edge and still understanding what trends are going on out there. Every time there's a new TV show or a movie or something coming on, you better believe a customer is going to come in and ask for that haircut. So really being prepared. And I think with American Crew and Great Clips, you guys it's a great partnership. And we continue to hopefully give you tons of education that is relevant for you guys as well. So thank you again. And one final look at our model. I think it's a little bit like 80s. What do you guys think? Okay. I think that is all for today. And I look forward to being in front of you guys again very soon.
And we are done.